Welcome back, everyone. It's been a while since we've had another Pig's Ear in review here at the Dojo. Even though I promised last time we'll be more regular. Welcome to life.
Promises you can't keep.
I know. I got to stop promising this is when we're going to start being regular again because it might be a while. We'll see. We're going to try. Various fun things keep happening, preventing it. But we're back for another action-packed episode here. And if you haven't watched us before, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us along as we discuss all kinds of things that we've been watching and playing, occasionally reading. Today, maybe even eating as well. We'll see.
You want to review Dave and Buster's?
That's true. That's true. You did talk about that as well. We need to do more location reviews. I don't know where, maybe like a Walmart review at one point.
I'm going to Japan. You're looking at going to Japan. So.
That's true. That's true. That is a good point, actually. We'll have to do a special episode as well for that one. Yeah. But today, though, we got some good stuff. We're going to be talking a little bit about Final Fantasy XVI, then a show called Jury Duty, then a game, Star Trek Resurgence, and then, like I said, the last piece. Do you want to save the...
We can say what it is.
All right, spoiler. That's fair. Okay, that's fair. Super Mario Oreos, I believe you said.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a very unique one. I'm curious how that's going to go. So yeah, let's just start off with it. So Final Fantasy XVI. As I've said before, Final Fantasy is one of those franchises that I just haven't had like a crazy amount of experience with, but I've played a few of them now, but granted they're the more recent ones, and then 7 is probably the only like original one I suppose I've played. But when 16 was first announced, I gotta be honest, at first I didn't know what to think of it, because there wasn't a whole lot revealed. It was just like the cinematics, but I'm like, okay, is this like a turn-based game or whatever? And I didn't know what to think about it, like I said, but then as more and more came out, I got more excited as someone who doesn't like turn-based games, generally speaking. But what I'm curious about is, since you like turn-based stuff, how did that hit you when they first started revealing more about it?
I'll be honest, I prefer turn-based.
Right.
But I'm not disappointed. I realize that maybe the time has come and gone for especially Final Fantasy.
Sure.
I know you still get turn-based in certain games, and like especially like indie older style, or even something like Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
But I kind of realized that Final Fantasy is trying to be more the big budget action blockbuster type game, where they're not going to have people like 3 people stand to the side of the screen waiting for their turn.
You're just waiting in stances, ready to go. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny too, because I know 15 was definitely, of course, more action-based, and then the 7 remake, like there's a little bit of strategy kind of still thrown in there, but but 16, I think, not just me, plenty of people have said, it's basically a Devil May Cry game masked as Final Fantasy. To me, at least, it is.
Yeah, it's definitely more an action game. But I've said to you before as well, like, genres don't really mean anything in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always joke with you, Madden is practically an RPG.
Exactly.
Like Final Fantasy as well can be whatever it wants to be. Like it was a big. No one bats an eyelid at Final Fantasy VII being a Final Fantasy game, but at the time being like this steampunk, futuristic, like was a big change.
Yeah, and that's exact. And I want to say I read an interview recently where even the director or one of the main people basically had to defend that point of like, what even is a Final Fantasy game? And I'm just curious, like, how do you define a Final Fantasy game? Is it that it's turn-based? Is it that it's fantasy? Like, to your point, it can be anything.
I think everyone has their own interpretations, because to me it's very loose. It's pretty much if you put Final Fantasy on the box, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's even between the older ones. I mean, maybe the first few were fairly similar, but yeah, there's so much unique, different ways you can handle it. And that's, to be honest, why I still want to play those older ones, even though they're turn-based. And I know you've recommended 9, and there's hints of a remake, which I could maybe just wait for that at that point. But yeah, I do want to play them all. But it's just funny how like that debate happened when it just seems like a bunch of nonsense, honestly.
I think that was really one of those. No one really cared.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think many people were actually screaming online about it.
Rioting in the streets about
I
it.
mean, I've not seen anything about. I've seen like the interview where he was like defending it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've seen once online anyone being like, "This isn't a real Final Fantasy."
I've seen it a little bit, but obviously it's just people screaming for the sake of it and not like it's whatever. It's just random bullshit posts online. Like it's not actually an uproar per se, but I have seen it a couple times. It just made me laugh, is all. Um, but either way, though, I mean, as far as the game itself goes, yeah, I mean, overall, we'll probably do a separate spoiler cast type of episode. But for the purposes of today, I'll just say in general, I love this game. So I've already finished it, but you said you haven't, right?
No, when you go on like the PlayStation home screen, it tells you how far along you are, and I'm like
Mhm.
apparently just under 60%
Okay.
of the way.
And you've said you've done like some of the side quests or not as much?
Oh, I've not that. I've been mainlining it all the
Okay.
way.
Okay.
Yeah. I've just not had many opportunities to like sit down because
Mhm.
the stupid thing I did as well is I started playing it in front of my wife, who's now invested in the story. So I can't play it unless she's there as well. Otherwise, she'd get angry at me.
That's the first mistake. Shouldn't have done that. But it's funny though because I think you made the joke of like this is Metal Gear Solid levels of like cutscenes with this game as well, and
Yeah.
it does get a little ridiculous. Like no joke, there was one part towards the end of the game. I think I had the that thing it does where like the screen dims if you don't touch anything for a little bit. Like that happened to me at one point later in the game. So FYI. On
No,
that.
yeah, I compared it to like Metal Gear Solid 4,
Yeah.
where I think there has legit been periods where it's half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Which,
Uh-huh.
to be honest with you, there's not the time where I'm like, seriously, this is ridiculous. I'm invested.
No, I am as well, and I'm definitely a person who loved Metal Gear 4, and I'm not saying I dislike this game for that reason, but it was funny. There was more than I was expecting of that. There was quite a lot, but the story is pretty solid though with this game. I mean, it's
Yeah.
more or less you have the one main character who has a brother and the family, and they have fancy powers and bad things happen. I don't want to like spoil it too much, but like.
Well, I will say, like, they do kind of throw you in it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right
Like,
from the beginning. Hmm.
even though I'm like halfway through, there's still periods where I'm like, right, who's at what kingdom?
Hmm.
Why are these people fighting these people?
Right.
And I still like I do the thing where you pause it and it does that kind of Amazon Prime thing. Like,
The active time lore. Yeah.
yeah, where
Yeah.
it's like, this person's angry at this person because
Yeah.
and,
That is a
okay.
cool feature that it updates you along the way. I was like, okay, that's kind of a neat thing as well. But I think there was one point, I forget what part of it, but there was one point though where I think you were about to find something out within the next couple of minutes, but it hadn't told you yet. And I pressed it because I was confused about something and it like already told me what was about to happen.
Oh, okay.
That happened once or twice, but not that it's that big of a deal.
Yeah. No, I think that's a cool little feature. I think it could have done with a bit more exposition, just at the beginning.
Sure. Hmm.
Which seems crazy since like the first 2 hours is an hour and a half of cutscenes.
Just a little more. Why not?
But it also does my favorite thing where if someone coughs in anything like medieval or like
Hmm.
Victorian, you know what's going to happen to them. Like you got the little boy like,
Yeah.
and they're
You got the
like, you need to rest. And he's like, I'm sure I'll be fine. And I'm just like, will you?
He's got the plague. Next
You
scene,
know
he's
what this
done.
means. You know what this means. Come on now.
It was funny though to go back to this more medieval fantasy setting, especially after 15 and 7 remake. So that was
Mhm.
a nice change back to, I guess, older fantasy games. But as far as the gameplay goes, though, okay. Granted, I know I'm an old man now, so I have to be careful with me with extended long playtime with my fingers here. But there were a couple of times where you are jamming uh the what are they called, like the powers that you get basically that you're like accumulating, and I'm like
Oh,
constantly pressing them.
the dominant.
Yeah, all the different ones you can gather. So that's the big thing of the game too, is you're gathering these powers from people, and then you can swap out what the actual powers are and upgrade them and all that. But there are,
I have to say I've
yeah.
enjoyed that. Like normally, like a lot
Hmm.
of games, like whenever you get so many abilities, I'm like, I'm not going to use 90% of these.
Hmm.
The leveling up in this game, I have to say, seems a bit crap because the
Mm.
amount of times I've paused and I have like 20,000 ability points just because I've never felt the need to go and update
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
And then you update it or whatever, get a load of new moves. But one thing I do like about Final Fantasy games generally is that sort of level progression where you
Hmm.
feel like your characters are getting stronger. Whereas
Yeah.
this, I feel like it's like a very linear game where I'm always at the level I need to be.
Yeah, I think in the entire so I played on the store or not no the adventure mode, which is like the standard difficulty, so not
Yeah.
like the easy mode or whatever. And I think in the entire game I died twice, and that was only because it was during one boss battle midway through where there was this one hit kill kind of attack that I like couldn't figure out how to avoid, which was kind
Mm.
of annoying. Other than that, I never died in the game, which I'm not saying I'm like the greatest player, but I also felt the need, like I was upgrading along the way, but I never felt like anything was impossible, I guess.
I don't think it's a hard game.
Yeah, which is
It
fine.
as I said, I think it's time consuming, not even just in the story scenes,
Hmm.
but there are times when I'm doing battles where I'm just like, you know what, like even just halfway through dungeons and stuff, you get like a mini boss,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, this is maybe taking like 5 minutes longer than it should.
Sure.
You know, like just
Hmm.
because of how slow their health goes down.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's like you
Yeah.
know the strategy to beat them. It's just now implementing it.
Yeah, they're basically sponges at some point for a good amount of them, where it's just you're just doing it over and over and over again. And I think at first that was really fun because you're just trying out these different powers, and like I was chaining together a ridiculous amount of combos, and like by the end of the game, I had so many of those powers, and they all are on their own little timer that resets that I did the first set of like six powers, and by the time I did the sixth one, the first one was ready to go again, and I just kept cycling through over and
Yeah.
over again.
No,
So,
it does make you feel like very powerful at times as well,
mhm.
which is
Yeah, yeah, and I will say they also threw in some mixtures of other gameplays as well. Like I don't think this is spoilery, especially because that literally the opening part of the game is you're as that phoenix basically, and you're like almost a like a rail shooter type of game at some
yeah.
point. Like there's a little bit of mixture, which is cool. You can explore. It's semi open world ish. You kind of teleport from area to area, but when you're in that area, it's a pretty decently big area.
I think it works, to be honest. I know a lot of
Mm.
people try to build up like it's not open world. I'm like, it doesn't need to be.
Oh yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
complaining because I'd rather have the way it is here than just a bunch of emptiness just
yeah,
to traverse for no reason, basically.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And the other thing I just don't understand is so like people that are magical in this game are essentially like slaves, right?
yeah. Hmm.
And you have the dominants who are essentially like nuclear weapons for each kingdom, right?
Right. Yeah.
What I don't understand is why the magical people don't just use their magic to overthrow people.
Yeah, that confused me as well. Like it seems like they're bound by some sort of like loyalty to their kingdom or whatever,
Yeah,
but then like who gives a shit at that point?
I kind of get the point they're trying to make,
Hmm.
but it didn't make sense to me when if I can shoot fire out my hands, why wouldn't I just do it at the person holding the hostage?
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
agree. There's granted that would probably like hamper the story, but they probably could have come up with a story
they could
reason
have
like,
come up with
oh,
yeah,
like I don't know, they're under control by the king because of some fancy ring or something like that. I don't know. They probably could have explained it, but I
yeah.
agree they didn't. Um, there was a lot of stuff to explore. I mean, I did, even though I didn't do too many side quests. I'm glad I did one, which was completely just because I wanted to try one, and it was a good one because I ended up getting a chocobo that I could ride around, which I'm surprised wasn't like a main quest, but it's
Hmm.
just a side one. So I'm glad I found that one. But a lot of the side quests that I did try were fine, but nothing like too crazy, I
Well, even in
guess.
the main story, there's times where they're like, "I need apples. Can you get me apples?"
Yeah,
And he's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
"Sure."
I'll use my powers to get you some apples.
I need to get these people the apples, Jill.
I'm trying to think what else we could say real quick. I think the first mainline Final Fantasy that's mature rating, if I'm not mistaken, or
Yeah,
at
it makes
least
sense. Yeah,
I
I
think
think
so. And you can tell there is some of that because of the language and a decent amount of nudity. I was surprised by.
Sex as well, pretty much. Like
Yeah.
I mean, they don't like show the penetration, but as good as you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like they show a few things for sure. But overall, though, without going to really too much into spoilers and further about it, I love this game. Like I had a blast playing it. I know this wasn't once again the typical old style turn based, but like it was an awesome game. And I'm not even saying they can't go back to turn based, but it was a nice kind of change of pace, and it was I had a blast playing it.
Last thing I'll say is it's just nice to also play a game that feels finished. I know we kind of did that with Zelda recently,
Yeah.
but I've just got I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and just more pessimistic, but like games now, you're just like, okay, like, am I okay playing it even though it's probably got loads of bugs, doesn't
Hmm.
run great, they're gonna chuck a load of DLC on at the end or whatever.
Right.
Whereas this literally feels like this is the game, play
Hmm.
it, you're good, go day
Yeah.
one, you're fine. You know,
I think they learned their lesson a little bit from 15 because that was a bit of a nightmare with how they released everything. They
do you
did
not
say
watch
that.
the YouTube anime beforehand?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Then the cell phone game to tie in as well. I got to get the Oreos to get that feedback as well. Yeah, it got ridiculous. I will say I'm pretty sure I read an interview saying DLC for this could be a thing. It sounds like they would
Yeah,
like to, but
it
I don't.
doesn't feel like you're missing out on anything now. That's the
Yeah,
important part.
exactly. Oddly enough, though, a different article I read, I think just yesterday, was saying that the sales for this game were a little disappointing, but I think that's just because it's on
They,
PS5.
yeah, Square Enix have said they're happy with it, and then they were unhappy when Tomb Raider sold like 10 million copies.
Right, so it seems odd. Like people who have played this game generally seem to really enjoy it, and it's
I,
definitely brought in a lot of new people as well, which is great.
yeah, well, I'll give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thumbs up. I had a blast playing it. If they do come out with more for this game, I'll definitely be picking it up. And I still, even though I need to play older Final Fantasy games, I'm looking forward to the next one, which I don't think I've ever said before. If I'm looking forward to the next Final Fantasy game,
You have to
so
play 14 now. It's made by the same guy.
that's a good point. That's right. And I know you've obviously been playing it, and you also said how they're adding another expansion for free. So I don't. I do want to play it at some point. I'm looking for the right time to
I
invest
will just
800
say that
hours.
it's still an MMO, but the story is like,
Yeah. Hmm.
if you like the story in this, I think you'll like the story in 14.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. Well, cool. So yeah, definitely thumbs up for me as well. All
Uh,
right, over to you for your jury duty.
yeah, I'm kind of upset that you watched this. Well, you said you watched one or
I've,
two episodes.
I've only the first like couple episodes. I do intend to watch the rest of it at some point.
Yeah, so for jury duty, I love explaining this to people that haven't
Hmm.
seen it because I kind of read about it. I saw this article and it was just where they talked to the guy afterwards.
Hmm.
I was like, I hadn't heard about this,
Yeah.
and literally I just thought it sounded funny. So that
Hmm.
night I watched it, and I think we watched it in 2 days, the entire
Yeah.
thing. So for those who don't know, it is like I describe it as like The Office or Parks and Rec,
Hmm.
where so it's like a sitcom and it's about a jury on a case.
Hmm.
The thing is, there is one person who doesn't know that it's all fake, and everyone else does. So it's like imagine if they filmed Parks and Rec or The Office, but just turned the cameras on and didn't tell someone that it was all fake.
Yeah, it's like part mockumentary, but also part reality show at the same time, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a really weird combination because the guy thinks he's in a documentary.
Hmm.
But like anytime I've seen this sort of thing done before, people think they're on like a reality show.
Sure.
You know, like there was that one where it was like I never watched it, but they convinced all these women that like it was a bachelor show, and it was
Hmm.
like they convinced all these women that the guy was a millionaire when he
Yeah, I
wasn't.
think it was just Joe Millionaire. I think that's what it
Yeah,
was called,
something
or something
something
like
like
that.
that, right?
Hmm.
But like they think they're on a reality show. This guy thinks he's on like a proper like low budget documentary.
Yeah, and the legal side of things, I think, gives it some legitimacy of like, oh, they wouldn't fake a legal proceeding, would they?
Yeah. Well, this is it as well. It's like in the show as well, you see all the wacky stuff, right?
Hmm.
But apparently, when the cameras are off, or like they just didn't show it in the thing. They were like, anytime this guy got suspicious, we would legit do just 5 hours of really boring legal stuff
to really bring it back down
Yeah,
again.
yeah. They
Yeah,
said there was like some kind of reality meter. Anytime he like would turn to someone and be like, "This is crazy," they'd be like, "Right, pull it back."
yeah.
And they're
That's
like, "We can
awesome.
only push him so far."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, some crazy stuff. I don't want to spoil it because you've only seen a couple of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times as well where you can tell he's like, "What the hell is going on?"
Sure.
But if you start in these scenarios, because this went on for 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
right? In these scenarios, if you question one thing, you've got to question everything.
I think any normal person would, but like it's one of those things where you almost feel peer pressured, like you don't want to speak up at the same time.
Yeah, because they essentially sequester him. They take away his phone, and they tell him everyone else's phones are taken away, and they have to stay in this hotel
Mm-hmm.
for the duration of the jury. But that's it. Is if you're 2 weeks into this and you go, this guy's an actor. Like no one acts like this.
Mm-hmm.
You then have to go. Well, is everyone else? Does everyone else know about
Well, hold
this?
on though. I don't think you explained the other hook of the show of the actor that's in the show. There's
Oh, right,
someone.
well, no, he knows James. So James Marston
Yeah,
is on the jury, but they
yeah,
sort of make it seem like he just randomly got called for jury duty.
yeah. Like the actual actor James Marsden is
Yeah,
playing himself.
and
Yes,
yeah, which is amazing. Like
I love him.
but this is what I mean is like not even just James Marsden. If he thought other people were
Right,
pretending
right,
to be acting, he then has to question every fabric of what's happened up to
right.
that point, which I don't think any sane person would be like, I'm in a Truman Show experience. You might think these people are insane playing it up for the cameras that are there, stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think it's once again, it's one of those things where peer pressure does so much more than people realize. Of like, oh, should I not speak up? Like, oh, maybe. I think probably anyone would question it in their head like immediately, but then it's like, okay, what is that breaking point for every person? And I think that's what they're trying to test.
So they did something similar in the UK. There was this show, I think it was called like Space Cadets or something like that.
Okay.
And they put an ad out saying this is like in mid 2000s, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it was a little before the internet became as popular as it is, sort of thing. So yeah, they put out this ad and they were like, "Hey, do you want to go to space on TV?
Mm-hmm.
Right, we're going to do a documentary where we send members of the general public to space." And people signed up, and the way they did it was tests to see how gullible people were.
Yeah.
So they'd like put a jar full of sweets and say like, guess how many are in there, and they're like, 100. And when they go to fill out the form, they could see all the people before them and put like 2,000. So they looked for the people that would like then change their answer,
Yeah,
based on what others are saying and like go along with it.
that's funny.
Like that.
Oh, that
but
sounds
yeah,
great.
these people thought they were in space for a week.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They thought they were like training in Russia, but they just kept the plane in the air over the UK for like 6 hours. And then
oh my. That's awesome. I gotta check that out. That sounds wonderful.
This show is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've found anything as funny as this in a long time.
Yeah.
And the main reason it works is the main guy is a really nice guy.
Sure.
And you side with him, but find it funny because he takes everything well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this would have worked if a guy was a dick. Because
yeah, they took a lot of risk with it. Like, if this could have gone horribly, I don't know if they had a contingency plan if the first person didn't work out.
But the thing as well is that's it. Is like because he's not like if I seriously think if they had done this to me, all these weird people, I would have just been like, yeah, I'm keeping to myself. I'm not interacting with these people. Like,
yeah,
people I've done that with people I just generally don't like. Where I'm like, I'm gonna keep to myself.
Yeah, I'll just wait this out.
Yeah, I'll be quiet in the corner. I'm not talking to people. I find them all weird. Like I would, but this guy's like genuinely a nice guy and tries to be like friends with everyone.
Yeah,
no matter how crazy they are.
The quote that I remember from the first or maybe second episode is when that guy is talking to James Marsden, and he's like finally realized like, oh, it's James Marsden, and he's like, oh yeah, you were in the Sonic movie, and he goes, yeah, yeah, and then James asks him like, oh, so did you rent it or did you buy it? And he goes, oh, I just rented it, and he's like, oh, shame, I could have got an extra buck if you bought the movie or
Yeah.
something like that. It's like that's pretty good. Yeah, James Marsden in general is an awesome guy. Yeah. So no, I definitely intend to finish watching. I think there was so much other stuff that's come out recently. I just forgot to go back to it, but I definitely intend to finish it. So
There was an episode where like me and my wife laughed so hard that it woke us up so much that we stayed up and watched another episode.
that's
Like
awesome.
we were like, oh, we'll finish this one and go to bed. And like legit, it was some of the funniest stuff ever.
Yeah.
And it's just one thing after the other,
Mm-hmm.
and it just keeps escalating, and you feel so bad for him,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also cracking up the entire time as well.
Yeah, it's one of those concepts that of like, man, how has this not been done before? But then now, since it was done so well, I'm
There's
sure
gonna be
it's
a
gonna
million copycats now.
exactly. So whatever this team did to make this show, it would be great if they tried it with some other concept, to see if they could do it again. But yeah, this seems like a once in a
It's
lightning in a
lightning in
bottle
a
type of
bottle.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, definitely thumbs up. Even though I haven't finished it, sounds like the same for you, obviously. But
Yeah. Thumbs
yeah,
up for
it's
sure.
funny. Yeah, it almost seems like it's gone under the radar a little bit because I think it was technically on Freevee, which is like
That's how we
Amazon's.
started watching it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess it's free now for anyone. You don't even have to have Amazon Prime, but I think it's on that as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it started on Freevee. It became a big hit, so then they moved it to Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay, got it, got it.
Yeah, I think that's the way it went because they were like, "Wait a minute, we actually have a successful show."
Hold up, how did this happen?
What do you mean it's not the boys?
Yeah, what? What is this? So yeah, it's pretty funny. So all right, cool.
All right, over to you then. First, I'm just gonna close my eyes. I'm listening though. Okay.
Yeah, you can just come back in about 10 minutes. I'll talk to the wall behind you for just a little bit. I'll keep this one relatively brief, to be honest. I know how much you want to hear Star Trek lore for me, but I'm going to have to keep it brief just for this conversation. We can talk more after about that because I know you're dying to hear. So, Star Trek Resurgence is a game made by essentially former Telltale developers. So, those are the games around like Wolf Among Us or like the Walking Dead kind of story games and the Batman Telltale games. So definitely have a very long history of some, that kind of stuff, right? And if I'm not mistaken, it's not all former Telltale, but like it's a good chunk of them from my understanding. And this is basically their first game after them leaving or that it's weird. Telltale like closed, but now it's like back again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it's the actual company that was there and how much of it's just a name. I've never really like read into it.
Yeah, so
I just kind of blindly, like the guy in Jury Duty, I just kind of blindly accepted it.
yeah, like, okay, this is just a fact
Like,
now, I guess.
fact on. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, sure, why not? So yes, but this is its own studio. That being said, you can very clearly tell that it's that style of game. I will say, to their credit, they try to introduce a little bit more action to this game. So it's like 70% telltale like story based, you're kind of walking around, but the other 30% is actually more actiony kind of stuff. Kind of almost think like a Mass Effect light sort of thing where there's a couple of phaser battles, some puzzles, exploring stuff, that kind of stuff, but it's by no means like the greatest thing ever. It's very light on that part of the game. So this one honestly is a hard game to kind of recommend at times because on one hand, if you like Star Trek, the story is really good. It's basically a next generation era episode just stretched out over the length of, like an 8 or 9 hour game. And it's really cool because you get to make all sorts of decisions like you would see in the show, like negotiating certain geopolitical kind of discussions. And then you see some characters from the shows here and there. And that part is awesome, which, like I said, if you like Star Trek, you're going to like that. But the problem is this game feels underdeveloped. Like it's a bit rough at times, and it was already delayed once, and I can't imagine what the game would have been like if it released.
of features or performance or
Both, unfortunately. I had a whole host of audio issues. The game crashed a couple of times. And then as far as features go, it is very bare bones. There's no option to invert your controls, which seems odd. Like, that can't be that hard, I would think, to implement. The save system is a little weird at times, and like it just like there's texture pop-ins all over the place. So I, it's not that it necessarily ruined the game for me or anything like that, but it was extremely noticeable, and it wasn't exactly the best like first impression from this new indie kind of company. Granted, the game was only $40. It's maybe a little bit cheaper now since it's been about a month or so since I played it, but it's once again, it's not a horrible game, but if you like Star Trek, I think you can get past it to finish it because the story is cool and it's worth it. But if you don't like Star Trek, but you like Telltale style games, even then it becomes very difficult to recommend because, like, it just feels unfinished, to be honest.
Well, I used to like the Telltale games a lot, and they always had their issues. I tried playing the Guardians of the Galaxy game, and that one actually crashed so much I couldn't get past the point, and I just gave up.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, like the Batman games, there was always issues. Wolf Among Us, stuff like that. I remember, I think it was one of the Game of Thrones ones or something, where it wouldn't transfer my save from one episode to the next or something.
Oh, that blows.
And like it took like a week to update or something.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's they do, and maybe it's because I haven't played enough of the other Telltale games, but it stuck out enough, especially when I've been playing so many other good games this year. It's like, oh, this is what happens when an indie studio is like, it's their first attempt and they've already delayed it. And I'm not saying it could have been better if maybe if they had to get even more time, but like I said, they've already delayed it once. I don't know how much more it could have been, I suppose. I think they're still coming out with patches, which is great, but maybe if you wait until then, it'll be a better experience. But even then as well, if you don't, I guess it's the same thing with any Telltale game. Like if you don't like Batman, I'm trying to think, would it be worth playing the Batman ones or some of the other like branded ones that they've done?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just depends on how curious you are.
The
And
way I always did it, like I never played Borderlands, so I never went and played their Borderlands game.
Yeah.
I think they did an Expanse one recently, and
yeah,
that because
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I guess, to be honest, there's not a whole lot more to talk about other than it's basically a next generation episode where you're in control, and there are consequences, which is cool, just like the other Telltale games. But even for me as a Star Trek fan, it's hard to recommend at times. So all I'll say is I'm going to give it like a half recommendation where it's like, okay, if you like Star Trek, give it a shot. Maybe wait until more bugs are fixed. But if not, you can honestly give it a pass. Like there's really no reason to play it, honestly, unless you're really just that curious. There's better ways to get into Star Trek than this game, unfortunately. So if they do something else or maybe even a sequel, I'm certainly going to be interested, but they have a lot more work to do, unfortunately. So, wasn't the best.
Better luck next year.
Yeah, exactly. Give it another shot. All right, over to you for the piece de resistance.
Okay, so I'm sure everyone, like the world stopped about a month back when they announced that there were going to be Oreos themed based on the Super Mario series.
I could not believe my eyes.
Yeah, I know. Like, I think there was a Congress hearing that got halted as the news came out.
Yeah, exactly.
I was watching CNN at the time, and they legit just pulled away from an interview with the president. Like,
top news in the nation.
Yeah. So I was like, we were in the store, and I saw them, and I was like, well, I got to get these.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm 31.
Look, there's never a bad time to get cookies, okay? All right, it's fine.
Like, I need these, right?
I need these.
I need these. You know, like when you're like 6 and you're asking for it, like the chocolate bar, and
Yes. Look, Mom, you don't get it.
Yeah, that was me making a case. It was a good 20 minutes of negotiation. Um, and at first, I was kind of shocked because I looked at the box and I was like, "Oh, they're just plain Oreos,
Mhm.
like the flavor."
Like no
I thought
flavoring
they
at
were,
all.
no, I thought they were going to be flavored in some way because now where I'm from in the UK, right, Oreos are pretty plain, right? You have the Oreos, and sometimes you get like Oreo thins, double stuffed.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
might get the odd flavor here and there.
Sure.
Here in America, you have aisles of Oreos.
It's a lot. It's just it's
Yeah,
disturbing how
they're
much
like,
there
you want
are.
birthday cake Oreos? You want
Hmm.
sprinkle Oreos? Do you want Oreos that are thin, thick, double thick? Do you want
Double
Oreos
thing.
that?
But
I'm like,
okay, but hold on. If there was a flavor for these, what would it be? That's Mario
I
related.
did think about that, and I did think mushroom Oreos would be disgusting.
A bit much. Yeah. Uh, yeah.
But even like the colours or something, I was expecting them
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
like red and yellow and all like
Yeah.
rainbow
Exactly.
colours, right?
Hmm.
So I looked at the thing and I was like, oh, okay, like they're just plain. I'm like, I'm still getting them because I'm a man child. I got them home and I looked at them, right? I'm like, right, because we've to prepare for our trip to Japan, we've been watching the Studio Ghibli movies recently.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was like, oh, while we watch the movie, I'm gonna have some Oreos. So I get the box out, and it says
Hmm.
on it like big gold writing, it's like find all 16 designs.
Okay.
Because instead of like the Oreo just regular logo, they've
Hmm.
replaced it to like one has a Mario, one has a Luigi, one has like the Fire
Sure.
Flower and stuff like that. So then I carry on looking at the box because I'm like, well, what happens when you find all 16? Like, do you enter a competition online
Take
for
a
like a
picture.
chance to win a Switch or something?
You should have tried.
You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah.
tweet us a photo of all 16 and like
Yeah.
we're, you entered in to win a trip to Nintendo World in Japan,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
I'm like,
Hmm.
no, just find all 16.
Just do
Why?
it
Because.
because we said so.
I'm like,
Nothing.
yeah. So they taste like Oreos. Everyone's had an Oreo, but
Hmm.
my question quite quickly became, why? Why do these exist?
Why do any of them exist? There's too many. It's just
Well,
because it's brand deals.
I understand. You give me chocolate or strawberry Oreos, right? Someone
Hmm.
might prefer that flavor over the original,
Yeah, but
right?
look at any branded cereal anytime a movie comes out. Like, it's the same shit. It's just brand deals. Remember BB-8 oranges that came out that I told you about? Why the fuck do we need that?
This is what it was. This is like one of those things where, like, I like to think I've become pretty savvy to not fall into the pits of like consumerism, right? But then
Nope.
I'm in my kitchen looking at this pack of Oreos and going,
What is
why
my
do these
um
exist?
how did I end up here?
I was like, there's no new flavor. There's no competition for finding them all. It is just simply we put fucking Luigi on a cookie.
You can get the satisfaction of eating his face. That's what you get.
But I kind of became angry that they exist.
I was not expecting this dark turn for an Oreo review.
I know, but it was just one of those where I was like, give me a flavor. Make like even if you put a gold one in 1 in 1,000 packs and you win
Yeah.
something,
Hmm.
something. And I'm like, these just exist. So man children who are now 30 and want to watch the Mario movie even though they don't have kids. Like me, Wiley, and I fell for it hook, line, and sinker, and now I hate myself a little.
Did you also dress up in your best Mario cosplay while you were eating them?
I should have. Just
Really just set
shaved
the mood.
everything but the moustache.
Get a plunger too while you're eating it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's
But
hilarious.
yeah, it kind of annoyed me that I don't ever enter like the cereal competitions. It'd be like, oh, win a trip to Legoland, but at
Yeah.
least throw that in there.
Give me something. Give me something. You know what they could have done is, you know how like with Mountain Dew and Doritos, there's like double XP codes and all that kind of
Yes,
stuff.
yeah,
They could have done that.
anything like, oh, like enter for a chance to win like a year of Nintendo Online.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Anything would make this worthy of existing other than the fact they can go, we got Mario Oreos.
Wait, were they more expensive than regular ones too?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I do think the pack is smaller than a
Bastards.
regular pack. I haven't measured them up. I didn't take them away with
You
the
need a full
Oreos.
experiment here. Yeah, let's
They
get
seem
back to
pretty
this.
short. They seem pretty short. I'm going to be honest. But yeah, I just kind of looked at them in a bit of anger. Like
That is a shame. That really does seem like a missed opportunity. What a shame. I That's ridiculous. You know what? Let's boycott Oreo.
yeah. If you do anything with your life today, it's tell the Oreo company what you think.
Yeah, tweet at Nabisco or whatever company owns Oreo and tell them we demand something else for our
I
man-child
think
test.
they should fly everyone who bought these to Japan to the Nintendo world as a sorry for we tricked you.
Yeah, we need an official apology.
I don't know how they tricked us because I just bought these of my own.
Yeah, no one was trying to influence you. Yeah, it wasn't a trick. It was tapping into you being a man-child. That's what they did.
I feel exploited.
Who would have thought Oreos would be the thing that finally pushed you over the edge?
I don't know. It was just a mix of anger and sadness.
That's so funny.
Bear in mind, at this point, I hadn't even eaten them.
It's not even worth it. Throw them away. It's just insulting at that point.
They've already got my money. Might as well
enjoy it. You know, quick fun fact about Oreos. Did you know that Oreos are vegan?
I had heard that.
Which is kind of weird to think, like, wait, shouldn't there be some sort of cream in that filling? No, none of it is animal product. Which is very weird to think about.
Yeah. I don't know. There's some weird stuff. Like, I think it was when I was working somewhere once, someone had a coconut allergy, and it was like the bread had coconut in it.
Weird.
Yeah, I was like, what?
How did that happen?
Yeah, I'm like, how do these things cross?
This shouldn't be happening. Oh my god. So that's great. I'm gonna assume you're giving this one a thumbs down.
I like Oreos. Oreos would generally get a thumbs up, but just out of the sheer fact that they really just didn't do anything with this product outside of throw the squid on them. It's a thumbs down for me. As I said, I would have been excited just even if they said 1 in 1,000 packs has a gold coin, and if you win that, you win a Switch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That would have been like, cool.
Awesome.
That's something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Maybe Oreo / Nintendo, if you're watching this, make up for it. Do something better next time.
Yeah. We could all be on a first-class flight to Japan by tomorrow, I feel. This should be a civil lawsuit.
Yeah, we're done. We're taking on Big Oreo after this one. Well, good. All right. I was not expecting, like I said, this much of a heated feeling about Oreos, but next time I'm at the store, I'm going to keep an eye out for this and maybe some other branded ones and see what they're offering before I make my decision.
Video of the people smashing the Bud Light in the store?
Yeah.
Let's do that with the Oreos.
The Oreo just starts smashing. Oh, if someone comes up to you and asks, like, "Oh, is there some like political statement happening with Oreos now?" No. It's Mario.
Just say this is about consumerism gone wild. Carry on.
Fight the good fight. Oh my god. Well, good. I'm glad. Right. I'm glad you're taking up this mantle for all of us. Thank you for this, for doing this. So, thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know if you've played Final Fantasy, Star Trek, if you've seen Jury Duty, and also your feelings on corporate branded merchandise that doesn't do anything for you. Let us know how you feel in the comments. What are your favorite Oreos? But until next time, we'll be talking about all sorts of other fun stuff and maybe more food-related items. Stay tuned for the next episode whenever that happens to come out, and we'll catch you then. Take care.
Bye.